Everyone, this is Jeremy from MainTakeAway, and in this video we're going to be talking about Seeking Wisdom, Part 1, by Peter Bevelin. Here's a look at the cover. In this video, you will learn the 28 mistakes and misjudgments you and everyone tends to make, and how you may benefit from knowing them, along with other small quirks about the human mind and wisdom. How smart are you? If we understand what influences us, we might avoid certain traps and understand why others act like they do. We can't eliminate mistakes, but we can prevent those that can really hurt us. Master the best that other people have figured out. Don't just try to dream it all up yourself. Nobody's that smart. Anyone who wishes to be cured of ignorance must first admit to it. Reading books is like a conversation with the finest minds of the past centuries. Life's boomerang. The advice we give to others is the advice that we ourselves need. If people expect something to go wrong with their health, it often does. What we do today is a function of what worked in the past. Mutual aid has tremendous survival value. 28 reasons for misjudgments and mistakes. Number 1. Bias from mere association. Automatically connecting a stimulus with pain or pleasure, including liking or disliking something associated with something bad or good. Seeing situations as identical because they seem similar. Also bias from Persian messenger syndrome, not wanting to be the carrier of bad news. 2. Underestimating the power of rewards and punishments. People repeat actions that result in rewards and avoid actions that they are punished for. After a success, we become overly optimistic risk takers. After a failure, we become overly pessimistic, even in cases where a result was merely of chance. 3. Underestimating bias from own self-interest and incentives. Look deeply at track records. It's naive to think projections have any utility whatsoever. Do not train learning by force. Lead them by what amuses them. Self-serving bias. Overly positive view of our abilities and future. The more we think we know about a subject, the less we are willing to use other ideas. We solve a problem in a way that agrees with our area of expertise. Try to be consistently not stupid, instead of trying to be very intelligent. Ask, how can I be wrong? Who can tell me if I am wrong? 5. Self-deception and denial. Distortion to reality to reduce pain or increase pleasure. It's wishful thinking. 6. Bias from consistency tendency. Being consistent with our prior commitments and even when acting against our best interest or in the face of disconforming evidence. Includes confirmation bias. Looking for evidence that confirms our actions and beliefs and ignoring or distorting conforming evidence. The more public a decision is, the less likely it is that we will change it. The task of man is not to see what lies dimly in the distance, but to do what lies dearly at hand. Respond intelligently and diligently to the information, and challenge is at hand. To say you are wrong is like saying you are wiser today than yesterday. Bias from Deprival syndrome. Strongly reacting, including desiring and valuing more when something we like or have, or almost have, is or threatens to be taken away or lost. Includes desiring and valuing more what we can't have and what is or threatens less to be available. In investing, it is a mistake to try to make it back the way you lost it. 8. Status quo bias and do-nothing syndrome. Keeping things the way they are. Includes minimizing effort and a preference for default options. Make yourself do the things you have to do when it ought to be done, whether you like it or not. 9. Impatience. Valuing the present more highly than the future. 10. Bias from envy and jealousy. Man will do many things to get himself loved. He will do all things to get himself envied. 11. Distortion by contrast comparison. Judging and perceiving the absolute magnitude of something not by itself, but based only on the difference to something else presented closely in time or space, or to some earlier adaptation level. Also, underestimating the consequences over time of gradual changes. 12. Bias from anchoring. Overweighing certain initial information as a reference point for future decisions. 13. Over-influenced by vivid or most recent information. Back up vivid stories with facts and numbers. 14. Omission and abstract blindness. Only seeing stimuli we encounter or that grabs our attention, and neglecting important information missing and neglecting important missing information or the abstract. Today, 14 million people didn't win the lottery. We don't see the quiet losers. We don't see those who didn't predict well. 15. Bias from reciprocation tendency. Repaying in kind what others have done for, or to use like favors, concessions, information, and attitudes. People don't want to feel indebted. Allow people to give back what we've given them. 16. Bias from over-influence by liking tendency. Believing, trusting, and agreeing with people we know and like includes bias from over-desire, from liking and social acceptance, and for avoiding social disapproval. Talk to a man about himself, and he will listen for hours. 17. Bias from over-influence by social proof. Imitating the behavior of many others or similar others includes crowd folly. When all are accountable, no one is accountable. 18. Bias from over-influence by authority. Trusting and obeying a perceived authority or expert. After the break-in at John's office, he said, "Of course I believed." He was a security guard, since he had a uniform. 19. Sense-making. Constructing explanations that fit an outcome. Includes being too quick in drawing conclusions. Also thinking events that have happened were more predictable than they were. Everything seems stupid when it fails. In hindsight, everything seems obvious. Reason respecting. Complying with requests merely because we've been given a reason. Includes underestimating the power in giving people reasons. If you always tell people why, they'll understand it better. They'll consider it more important, and they'll be more likely to comply. People who are more moved by what they feel than by what they understand. 21. Believing first and doubting later. Believing what is not true, especially when distracted. Memory limitations. 22. Remembering selectively and wrong. Includes influence by suggestions. 23. Do something syndrome. Acting without a sensible reason. Man finds nothing so intolerable as to be in a state of complete rest, without passions, without occupation, without diversion, without effort. 24. Mental confusion from say something syndrome. Feeling the need to say something when we have nothing to say. I have often regretted my speech, but never my silence. 25. Emotional arousal. Making hasty judgments under the influence of intense emotions. Includes exaggerating the emotional impact of future events. 26. Mental confusion from stress. It is not stress that harms us, but distress. 27. Mental confusion from physical or psychological plane. The influence of chemicals or diseases. 28. Bias from over-influence by the combined effect of many psychological tendencies operating together. Once they start stealing, the consistency principle will make stealing habitual. It is very important to create human systems that are hard to cheat. Mistakes. No man was fit to hold public office who wasn't perfectly willing to leave it at any time. You can learn to make fewer mistakes than other people, and how to fix your mistakes faster when you do make them. Get so you can handle mistakes. Take all the main models from psychology and use them as a checklist in reviewing outcomes in complex systems. That's it for part 1 of Seeking Wisdom. Click on the link below to get it from Amazon. Share this info with someone who needs it on Facebook, or tweet at MainTakeAway and tell us what you got out of this video. Also, share a comment below about what you liked or disliked about this video.